now it's time for us to discuss more of these headlines in simple keywords with Adam joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Lena. Happy National Foundation Day.
Happy National Foundation Day to you, too. That's a mouthful. Good morning.
It certainly is. A public holiday, mind you.
Parking spots are easy to come by today, and the roads are nice and empty.
Hopefully, yeah.
All right, Adam, let's get started. We have a lot of headlines to cover, as always, and today we begin in the Middle East. This is our first keyword of the day.
Israel plans payback.
So Israel is reportedly planning a significant retaliation against Iran in the coming days. It came with a warning at targeting oil production facilities and other strategic sites. So that could have severe economic effects across the globe, not just in the region. What's the latest?
Right, so that's according to U.S. news outlet Axios citing Israeli officials. Now, if Israel proceeds with this retaliation, it could lead, of course, to further Iranian counterattacks, potentially escalating tensions in the Middle East. Iran threatened that if Israel responds with force to the nearly 200 missiles it launched on Tuesday, it will attack again. Of course, if that happens, Israeli officials say all options will be on the table, including strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, many Israeli officials point to Iran's oil facilities as a likely target, according to Axios, but some say targeted assassinations and taking out Iran's air defense systems are also possibilities. Now, the officials mentioned that this could involve airstrikes or covert operations similar to the one that killed Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran 2 months ago. One Israeli official mentioned that it remains uncertain how Iran might respond, but they are preparing for the possibility of Iran going all in, according to the report. This could lead to a completely different and more dangerous situation. Now, Israel's Security Cabinet held a meeting in an underground bunker near Jerusalem when the Iranian missiles were launched. Although there was some consensus on the need for military retaliation, no specific actions were decided on. A high-ranking official noted that one reason for this indecision was Israel's desire to coordinate with the U.S. government before taking further steps. Now, while Israel would ultimately decide on its retaliation, they want to align their strategy, apparently, with the U.S., given the potential strategic consequences. U.S. President Joe Biden said on Tuesday that the U.S. and Israel are discussing the response to the Iranian attack, and it remains to be seen what the outcome will be. Of course, in the eyes of the U.S., they don't really want a full-scale or all-out war happening because of this. So they're treading lightly, and Israel apparently seems to be doing so as well, though it is doubling down on its stance that, that it wants to retaliate. Now, meanwhile here, President Yoon has instructed relevant ministries to immediately deploy military transport aircraft to evacuate Korean nationals amid escalating tensions in the Middle East.
All right, so continuously keeping tabs on whether this will result in a wider conflict, something we've been keeping close tabs on, and of course, repercussions economically and otherwise across the globe. Let's move on to our second keyword of the day.
Yoon-Ishiba talks.
So Japan has a new prime minister, and President Yoon held a phone call with the new counterpart, Shigeru Ishiba, congratulating him on his inauguration. Maybe they have a shared agenda, it seems. He's considered progressive for his party, so there might be some common ground there. What else did they discuss?
Right, so the call lasted 15 minutes, so quite short. Both leaders agreed a united response together with the United States is needed to counter North Korea's threats. Yoon emphasized the importance of Korea and Japan as partners that share values and interests, and he expressed a desire to continue fostering collaboration through close communication between the two leaders. Ishiba expressed his pleasure of being able to speak with Yoon shortly after taking office. He acknowledged Yoon's efforts to improve bilateral relations and committed to further close communication and cooperation as well. Both leaders agree that next year, marking the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries, should be an opportunity to advance South Korea-Japan ties. And they also pledged to continue working together to achieve tangible outcomes that benefit their citizens. And they further agreed to continue to cooperate on North Korean human rights, including resolving the issue of Japanese abduction victims and South Korean prisoners of war. Additionally, they reaffirmed their commitment to maintaining shuttle diplomacy and meeting in person soon to discuss bilateral relations and other matters of mutual interest. The phone call was short because, of course, she he had other phone calls as well with the leaders of the US and Australia. So it wasn't all the time wasn't given. Yeah, it wasn't the time wasn't all allocated to President Yoon, but they did conduct that phone call nonetheless, of course, doubling down on Yoon's kind of push to improve relations with Korea's neighbor.
It's just the first few days of the job, right? So, I mean, there is more to work out, and it seems that what we're keeping tabs on is that first summit between the two leaders, President Yoon and the newly elected Japanese Prime Minister, perhaps on the sidelines of the ASEAN meeting set for next week. So we'll wait and see. Maybe then they can allocate more time.
Maybe.
All right, let's move on to our third keyword of the day.
Contentious bills.
So 3 opposition-led bills will be sent back to the National Assembly tomorrow for reconsideration after President Yoon vetoed them. It marked the 11th time President Yoon has exercised his veto power since taking office. That's also a point of contention, it seems. What's the latest?
Yeah, so it's kind of a repetition of this opposition-led bills being pushed through Parliament and then President Yoon vetoing them. A lot of vetoes taking place. Now, the most disputed bill calls for an independent probe into allegations against the First Lady. This includes manipulating stock prices of a BMW car dealer in Korea, illegally receiving a luxury bag, and interfering with the ruling party's candidate nominations ahead of the April 2024 general elections. A similar bill previously passed through the Assembly was passed, but it was vetoed by Yoon in January and later scrapped in a revote. Another bill calls for mandating a special counsel probe into allegations the government interfered in the military's investigation into a Marine's death. The third bill calls for promoting the use of local currency vouchers to boost the economy. That bill is not as contentious as the previous two. The previous two that I mentioned are the ones that are kind of creating these tensions and conflicts between rival parties and the government as well. For these bills to pass in the revote, more than half of the 300 lawmakers must be present, and 2/3 of those present must vote in favour. If all 300 members attend, the bills will be rejected if fewer than 8 votes deviate from the People Power Party's count of 108 seats. Now, the PPP has labelled these bills as political ploys and aims to maintain party unity to ensure the rejection of the bills. Meanwhile, the DP is increasing pressure on President Yoon and the PPP to accept the special prosecutor bills. DP spokesperson Han Min-soo urged Yoon to accept the investigation, warning that refusing to do so could lead the public to turn against him. So, yeah, there's been a lot of livelihood bills that have been passed in Parliament. So there was some surprises there that lawmakers were actually doing their job, something that they've been often criticised for not doing. But of course, there are these underlying contentious bills that don't really directly relate to people's livelihood, but do cause some political tensions, to say the least.
With that, we turn our attention to our fourth keyword this morning on the medical standoff. This is our fourth pick of the day.
Students leave.
So Seoul National University College of Medicine has approved a collective leave of absence for students, raising the possibility that other medical schools might follow suit.
Yeah, so this is basically another angle of the whole conflict between the government and the medical community regarding the government's planned increase of medical school quotas. SNU approved leave applications for its medical students for the first semester. The approval was reportedly made by SNU Medical School's dean. Medical professors argue that it would be challenging to provide a year's education within a short time frame before February next year, hence why it accepted the request for leave. Around 700 students were granted leave, which represents almost the entire enrollment. At SNU, the authority to approve such leaves do rest with the dean of each college, not the university president. It seems to be nationwide about a 50-50 ratio or thereabouts, where half of the universities have the authority put towards the dean when it comes to leave of absence, the other half the university president. Now, this approach could influence other schools where the dean has the authority to approve leave requests as well. Now, university presidents usually generally align with the government on increasing medical school quotas. So if there are medical schools or universities where the university president decide on these leaves of absence or leaves, then they probably might not accept them. However, medical school deans, who are often former medical professors, focus more on the quality of education and tend to oppose increasing student numbers. They are also concerned about the academic repercussions for their students and try to avoid situations that might force them to repeat a year. In response, the Education Ministry launched an audit into SNU's med school. The audit team includes 12 members, showing the ministry's determination to address the issue. The ministry criticised SNU's decision, calling it a neglect of the responsibility to educate future medical professionals, and it warns of possible disciplinary actions if significant violations are found. And they did conduct an on-site probe yesterday afternoon at SNU's campus in Seoul. Now, the university's faculty council, representing all SNU professors, criticised the audit, calling it an overreach of authority. They said universities should be independent institutions and other medical schools should also approve leave to avoid harming students. Now, the ministry will hold an online meeting with the presidents of 40 universities with medical programs tomorrow. But as I said, since university presidents usually do align with the government's plan of increasing med school quotas, because it means, of course, more admissions for the universities. So it's more in their interest, not so much for the interests of the deans, who, as I said, are more concerned about education itself. And they are professors who have been very objective of the government's plan to increase quotas as well. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be meeting with basically presidents of universities that align with their views as well. So, yeah, I mean, the conflict is certainly escalating into other areas, and these medical schools are certainly in a kind of a
tough
bit of a
spot where they have to make the tough decisions in a timely fashion, it seems, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum at the moment, but it's affecting all areas of medicine and the medical sector, basically, not just in terms of the hospitals, but also in education as well.
I mean, that's where it started, right? A quota hike at med school. So this makes sense. We'll wait and see. A breakthrough doesn't seem to be in the horizon, but how much can it further escalate, right? Let's move on to our final keyword of the day.
New growth opportunities.
So foreign ministry officials from Korea and the U.S. have met in Atlanta, Georgia for an economic forum aimed at boosting economic ties. In fact, they do this on an annual basis. So what was discussed this year?
Yeah, so this was the 8th or 9th iteration of the forum. Jose Fernandez, the Undersecretary of State for Economic Growth, Energy and the Environment, met with Seoul's Vice Foreign Minister Kang In-sun. Fernandez said the focus of the US-Korea economic relationship should now be on protecting achievements while creating new growth opportunities. He stressed that improving this partnership would benefit businesses and improve lives in both countries. And he noted that enhancing supply chain resilience and protecting economic security are core to the Biden administration's economic policy. He also praised Korea's current role as the chair of the Minerals Security Partnership. That's a multinational partnership aimed at developing diverse and sustainable supply chains for critical energy minerals. He mentioned that clean energy goals will be in jeopardy unless countries are able to substantially increase the use of lithium. He noted that by 2050, the need for lithium will increase 42 times compared to the current use. Of course, lithium being a key component in electric vehicle batteries. He praised Korea's role as the MSP chair in addressing these challenges. Kang underscored the importance of bilateral collaboration on key technologies and clean energy. She said the allies' cooperative trends will endure for a long time. And she noted that this was the first time the forum was held outside the two capitals of each country. And she explained that Atlanta was chosen because it is a major investment area for Korean companies and symbolizes the strong US-Korea alliance. Now, regarding the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, Kang said it has opened new opportunities in the clean energy sector. And she noted that since the IRA, Korea has become the largest investor in the U.S. clean energy industry.
All right. Thank you very much, Adam, for today's coverage. Have a great National Foundation Day. We'll see you again tomorrow.
You two have a great National Foundation Day. I'll see you tomorrow.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.